No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You've got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Ooh, the gym.
Old stomping grounds. Hank Patterson, Fly Fishing Guide.
Riley Smith, tight end.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hey, you wouldn't happen to be the kicker?
No, tight end.
Again, thank you. I'm looking for a kicker for Lithia Ford's fall kickoff sale. But you're not the kicker.
No.
Yeah, the kicker's probably taller and in a lot better shape. So, okay. What position do you play?
Tight end.
Squats. Yeah, try it sometime.
RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, is going all in this season with an all-star lineup. First up, he led the Broncos to 3 conference championships and 10 20-win seasons. It's Coach Leon Rice. Next, he's the founder and CEO of RowPaint.com. He played a little basketball in high school on the driveway with his mom. It's Andy Rowe.
Oh, no. Want to just paint my house?
Now that I can do. When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust RowPaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Canned Cocktails is perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Now, here's 4-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing, Boise State fans? Happy Tuesday. Welcome on into a live edition of Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. It is a Taco Bell Tuesday, so we got the SON Management hat this morning. We appreciate SON Management, the Nicolason family, and Taco Bell for sponsoring us here at Bronco Nation News, and always excited on Tuesdays for Taco Bell Tuesday. So we got some gift cards and things we're going to give away on Friday. Our big grand prize is coming on Friday. So Friday is the day we are giving away the private jet, and we'll do it with Jay Tust on Friday. So we're not giving away the private jet. We're giving away a trip for 2 on a private jet to San Diego for the final game of the season. So we are getting closer. You only got a couple days left to go ahead and jump in. And again, the promo code BNN50 deal gets you a full year just for $50 at BroncoNationNews.com. And you got to be a yearly subscriber. So $50, 1 year, gets you entered into all of our contests. And our grand prize on Friday, we're giving away a trip for 2 to San Diego for the final regular season game of the season. And Jay Tust, there could be a lot on the line for that game. And we're going to talk about the Mountain West scenarios and games and things today, because there's a couple of monster games in the Mountain West tonight. And I think Boise State's in a nice little spot here with the bye, and then a couple you would assume easier games at home here, and let these other teams beat up on each other. And as bad as it seems, Boise State could be back in first place in a week. We'll see how it goes. But Jay, appreciate you as always on a Tuesday. How we doing, man?
I'm good, bud. I don't know if it's as bad as it seems. Just the Mountain West is competitive this year, and especially at the top of that thing. So,
you missed our post-game show then, man. You must not have been on social media too much on Saturday
Well,
night.
I get it. It's back-to-back losses in early February against teams that are title contenders. I'm of the mind, yes, they were on the road, and no, you probably don't expect to win those games if you're being realistic. At the same time, you also probably don't expect to go lose both by double digits either. So,
yeah, I could see it.
The circumstances were tough. The opponents were tough. The road environments were tough. But I think it's also to say that Boise State just didn't play very well in either of those games, too. I think all of that can be true.
Yeah. And I said, even, after they lost that Utah State game, and you were looking at going to the Pit and going to all these places, you were saying like 2-2 in that 4-game stretch. Yeah. Probably would have been good. You probably would have taken 2-2, and they ended up 2-2. It just didn't happen the way many people thought. And as you said, maybe the scores of those games, and especially the second half, kind of being non-competitive in either game, the game already pretty much decided by early in the second half. Maybe that's cause for concern, I guess. But, you look at it, and Ken Palm still projects him to finish tied for second in the conference. And, it puts a lot of emphasis, and we'll get into this here in a little bit, but it puts a lot of emphasis. These are winnable games, but you have to win them. And they've really left themselves no margin for error. So we'll talk about the Mountain West standings. We'll talk about the games tonight, where I want to get Jay's take on the Bush Hamdan situation. I'm sure you're hearing the same, Jay, but I'm hearing it is highly unlikely that Bush Hamdan is coming back to Boise State. So I know it hasn't officially been announced at Kentucky, but my understanding is Boise State, Spencer Danielson, the coaching staff, moving on towards a search for a new offensive coordinator, and not expecting Bush Hamdan to all of a sudden call back and say that he changed his mind or he wants to stay. So we'll get Jay's thoughts on that here. And then 9:30, we'll give a little well-deserved love to the Boise State softball team. Justin Shults going to join us at 9:30, Jay. Big weekend for them. They go 4-1. They beat 2 Power 5 teams. They beat a ranked team. And, last year they scheduled tough and kind of lost their, I think they went 1-4 or something in their opening weekend at UCF last year. And they were kind of, couldn't take advantage of some of the big games they had. This year, Jay, they're scheduling tough again, and they start out 4-1, as I said, 2 Power 5 wins. So looking forward at 9:30 to talking to Justin Shults. They had a heck of a start.
Yeah, hey man, Justin, ever since he arrived, has had that program rolling. 40 wins 2 years ago. They're back contending for Mountain West Championship again last year, and expect nothing short of it this year. That's one heck of a start that they had. Excited to catch up with Justin, and more so than just group text messages, I guess you could say.
I was going to say, it's a shame he's such a bad guy, man. We'd have him on more often, but he's just a terrible guy in person. So no personality, not funny to talk to. No, we were really excited about that, and we will do that at 9:30. But let's start basketball. I think that the Bush Hamdan stuff we'll get to, Jay. But as I said, I think the lead, 2 games tonight in the Mountain West. And I checked. I woke up, and again, I'm just weird like this, and I'm literally laying in bed still, and I checked the net rankings, and I'm just think I got stuff. And the first thing I thought of was, man, I hope those games aren't at the same time tonight. And I go look, and sure enough, one's at 7 and one's at 9. So you get 4 awesome hours of Mountain West basketball tonight. I'm sure my wife loves overhearing that. But you got Colorado State and San Diego State at 7. That game is in Viejas Arena. Colorado State and San Diego State both are 7-4 in league. And that is about a 5.5 point spread for San Diego State. So you would expect the Aztecs at home to hold serve, but a big opportunity for Colorado State on the road. And then at 9, right after that, doubleheader on CBS Sports Network tonight, New Mexico is going into Reno, and obviously Nevada's playing very well. They've got a couple big wins they're coming off of, and New Mexico is underdog by 2.5 points. They're coming off the home loss to UNLV, so they're not wanting to lose. I think it would be a 3rd straight game for them. So New Mexico at Nevada. And, Jay, all 4 of those teams are tied with Boise State there in the loss column at 4 losses. So there's 6 teams that will kind of dive into the standings here, but there's 6 teams with 4 losses. That number will drop to 4 teams with 4 losses and 2 more with 5 after tonight. But a couple big games as we try to start to shake and sort this thing out a little bit.
Yeah, the good news is for Boise State is that they have at least 1 win over the other teams that they are joined in the top 6 with, right? Except for Utah State, who swept the season series. So you want to avoid any potential tie with those guys because they essentially have a 2-game lead over the Broncos when it comes to seeding. It maybe could get a little complicated if Boise State were to sweep a San Diego State, and San Diego, it could get a little complicated maybe if you somehow create a 3-way tie. But right now, you probably want to avoid that with Utah State. Big game tonight. You're right. Big games tonight for that matter. Nevada seems to be finding their stride a little bit. New Mexico has been up and down, but they're as capable as any team in the league of blasting anyone. I mean, we've seen that. So we'll see how it shakes out. And then, you look at San Diego State too. We talk about all the tough road environments. They're the only team in the Mountain West that hasn't lost at home this season. Everybody else has at least one blemish on their home record. So they'll try to keep that perfect tonight against a Colorado State team that all of a sudden has a 4-game winning streak, which is oddly tied with UNLV for the longest active winning streak in the Mountain West Conference. I know I mentioned that New Mexico's been up and down a little bit, but UNLV has as well. So ever since they got blasted by 32 or whatever it was at home against Air Force, they have managed to rattle off 4 straight wins. Those have been against lesser competition, I would say, concluding though with a road win at New Mexico. They beat San Jose State on the road, came back home, beat Fresno State and Wyoming before picking up one of their best, if not their best victory of the season, a 3-point win at New Mexico. So you could argue that with Boise State, but technically New Mexico's higher in the net ranking. So we'll give that to New Mexico at this point.
Which, by the way, so the way the tiebreakers work, if there's multiple teams, for folks that are wondering, is you do kind of go head to head, and if that's still tied amongst those 3, you put all your records against each other into the pot. If that sorts it out at all, then those teams are removed. And if there's 1 or 2 teams that finish with if 6 teams tie, just say with 5 losses for first place, let's just say there's a 6-way tie for first place. All 6 of those teams, you put in the group record against each other. If one team had the better record than everybody else, they are the number 1 seed, and then all the other 5 will go to the next tiebreaker, and you keep going down until you get down to the actual order, and you only have, the 1 team left. The next tiebreaker is you start at the highest spot in the standings where you can't figure it out. So maybe that's number 7 or number 8, and say, okay, how did everybody do against Wyoming? How did everybody do against, Air Force? And you keep going down. If you get to the bottom of that and there are still teams jumbled up, this tiebreaker will not help Boise State, but you go to the net ranking. So the net ranking is a factor in this tiebreaker, which I think could come into play here at some point. So that's another reason why Boise State, certainly would love to avoid going to the net ranking with some of these teams, because I think they're either 5th out of 6th, or maybe if they're right behind Nevada, they may now be 6th, I think, by 1 spot in the net ranking. And so some opportunity.
The funny thing with that, though, BJ, is that, they always say that it's not your net ranking, it's your opponent's net ranking that should matter.
Which is
in this case.
Yeah.
But not in this case.
Yeah, if you're going to and this was the tiebreaker the Mountain West put in place a couple years ago during the COVID season, and I don't believe it's changed. So I will triple check on that, but I believe the final tiebreaker, and there's no need to flip a coin, none of that stuff. Just go to the net ranking, and that's kind of the 3rd tiebreaker on there. So that is something to keep in mind as we move along here, Jay. But I will say this: I mean, I put it on Twitter yesterday, kind of looking at the next 10 days in the Mountain West here, and you look at what Boise State has the next 10 days, and you look at what all these other teams have the next 10 days. And I'll just really quickly say this: Utah State, they're at Wyoming tomorrow, and then they're at Colorado State on Saturday, San Diego State at home next Tuesday. So Utah State can go 2-1 there, but could very easily go 1-2. But I think Utah State has a loss in their next 3 games somewhere. Colorado State, again, at San Diego State tonight. Then they're home against Utah State, but then they've got to go to New Mexico early next week. So that's 2 road games at San Diego State and New Mexico for Colorado State in the next 9 days here. So that's at least 1, maybe 2 losses for them. New Mexico, also, they play the 3 big boys in their next 3 games at Nevada, as we said tonight, and then they got to turn around Friday and go at San Diego State. So New Mexico is starting to reach that gauntlet of road games that we've been talking about that were coming for them. And this week is one of the hardest weeks maybe for anybody in the conference, playing at Nevada, at San Diego State on Tuesday and Friday. And then they come home, but they have to play Colorado State. So that's not going to be easy for them either. So you're thinking, okay, New Mexico's going to drop a game or 2. San Diego State, they do get 2 of these games at home. They're home tonight against Colorado State, and then, as we said, home on Friday against New Mexico. But then they got to turn around Tuesday next week, I believe. They play at Utah State. So they're playing their next 3 games against teams in the top 5 here. And then Nevada is New Mexico at home, as we said, but they have to go to UNLV, who's playing great this weekend on Saturday, and then they get Wyoming at home during this stretch. So all the other teams, Jay, have at least 2 of their 3 games against the quote unquote, top 6 teams here. But Boise State, they don't play in the middle of the week here, so you can't get a loss, in this week. And then the next 2 games are at home against Fresno State and San Jose State. Both games you're scheduled to win by double digits according to Ken Palm. So as you said, as bad as it felt last week and as bad as this stretch has been, what was it, 7 quad 1 games out of 10 they just finished a stretch of? And sure, maybe the record isn't really where they want it to be, but I believe they kind of held serve to an extent, and now Boise State has a chance here to let these other teams kind of beat up on each other, hopefully get a couple of wins, and I think there's a real chance when they're done playing San Jose State on Tuesday. Now, again, both those games were on the road and they won, but both were pretty close. Fresno game got down to like 4. The San Jose State game, they were like down 9 middle of the second half and had to come back and win. So I'm not, saying that they're going to just blast both these teams. Both are a little sneaky tricky, but they're both at home, and both games you should be able to win. As I said, the metrics have you winning by double digits both games. I think when we wake up next Wednesday, Jay, or at the end of that San Jose State game next Tuesday, I've got 1, maybe 2 losses for all the other contenders. I don't see any other contender going, not having a loss between now and then. I think at worst, Boise State's right back in a tie for first place.
Yeah, and depending on who they're in a tie with, it depends on, it'll determine seeding, I guess, down to the Mountain West Conference tournament. There's still so many more games, though, to even really think about that. But yeah, I think you're right. I thought that San Jose State was going to be a little tougher this year. As it turned out, in their first game or the Mountain West Conference opener, their star guard just couldn't miss, for 25 minutes of that game, and that's what kept them in the game or gave them the lead. But obviously he couldn't sustain that over the course of a season, and as he's fallen back to being some level of human, they've had a tough time in the Mountain West Conference. Only 1 win so far, so I wouldn't expect that to be a close game, man, and it shouldn't be a close game. And then you look at Fresno State. Boise State's up 16. They're on the road. Fresno State goes on a 23-5 run, and Chibuzo Wabo hits a big shot at the end of that thing to make sure that Boise State, was able to come back and hold on to a win from Fresno. But yeah, you're right. I would largely expect Boise State to have, a good week. And in all honesty, they need to have a good week, man. They need to feel good about themselves. They need to make some shots. They need to get back to taking better shots. And, on defense, their metrics have fallen a little bit by, the Ken Palm standards. And I think they're down to 34, which oddly is kind of low for Boise State over the last couple of seasons. So this bye comes at a great time. They got to get a little bit of rest. Hopefully they had a couple of days off, and this is it though, man. This is the final rest. And now it is like game on through the NCAA tournament for the most part. I mean, when they wrap up on do they play San Diego State on a Friday or Saturday? I think it is a
Friday night. No, they get the Friday night game. Yep.
Okay. So then they don't play until, the middle to late next week. So they get a little bit, a mini bye, if you will, but they're preparing for the Mountain West Conference tournament. So you can only assume there's only going to be so many days off, even though they play on a Friday and they won't play again till a Thursday. So yeah, but it's all important, man. It's all important because it definitely is time to start envisioning what this Mountain West Conference tournament is going to look like. And I think you're the first to bring it up, BJ, because, I just said, you just want to avoid the bye, and that's been the case every year. And you do want to avoid the bye. But as it stands right now, if the Mountain West Conference tournament started today, Nevada, who's 19-5, would not get a bye. They're working their way onto the NCAA tournament bubble, and the 2 seed probably gets UNLV in their not on their home floor.
Congratulations for winning. Congratulations for finishing second in the conference. You get to play UNLV.
Yeah, not on their home floor because the Mountain West brings in their own floor, but in their home arena, which is significant. So. Yeah. That's tough, man. And we talk about this every year, and that's fine, but it feels a little more dangerous this year. So you want to try to go get that 1 seed without a doubt, because if you do, you might be looking at basically what Boise State's schedule is this week, more or less, something in that range, not playing a team that is on the cusp of chasing an NCAA tournament bid.
Yeah, I will say this. So with the neutral court coming into play, you're getting, maybe a quad 1 game in the quarters if you're having to play one of those. But I guess you take the trade off, the quad 1 game, but maybe a loss, or a quad, risking a quad 2 or 3 win. But I want to take a quick time out, Jay. I want UNLV is rising in the rankings too. They're up to number 87 in the net. If they can get to 75, that becomes a quad 2 loss here in Boise, which is something to keep in mind as well. That's the one kind of blemish. And what I was going to say really quick, BJ, is that in that Mountain West tournament, if you have to play them on their home floor, in their home arena, yes, then it becomes a quad 1 road game, to where if they stay outside of the top 25, you got to face them in their home arena, and it's a quad 2 game. So that, I feel like that's almost the worst case 75 scenario. Yeah, they got to get to 75 for that to be quad 1 or quad 2. Otherwise, it's quad 2 or quad 3. Jay, I'm going to give you 90 seconds to think about this while I play a quick commercial break here. But who is the best team in the Mountain West? And how do you, right now, if you had to, we don't have to go all the way through, but if you're picking the top 2 or 3 teams, whether it's right now or how you think this shakes out, what's the J Tust power rankings look like? We'll discuss here in 90 seconds. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mix premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Cutwater Spirits, perfect for your next game day tailgate party. Our title sponsor is rowpaint.com. For all your commercial, industrial, residential painting needs, check out rowpaint.com. Don't forget about their concrete coatings. Transform that ugly concrete slab on your back patio in your garage in just one day. Contact rowpaint.com for a free estimate today. The official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, and our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News is rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union's been helping members achieve financial success for more than 80 years. There's an ICCU branch on almost every corner, but the closest is in your pocket with free eBranch mobile and online banking. See why more than 500,000 members love ICCU, and join 1 in 4 Idahoans by making the switch today at ICCU.com. Since 1984, Ridley's Family Markets has prided itself on being a hometown food and drug store that employed value members of the local community. Ridley's Family Markets has 13 locations in the state of Idaho and many more in the surrounding states. Download the new Ridley's app to your smartphone, get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line, and find a location near you at shopridleys.com. Former Bronco Matt Bauscher is once again the number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley. No home is too big or too small for Matt and his team. Let them fulfill all your real estate needs at BauscherRealEstate.com. All right, back live. We got Justin Shults in about 10 minutes talking Boise State softball. I do want to get to the Bush Hamdan situation in a minute here, Jay, but let's finish up the basketball discussion. Just how do you see this jumble of 6 teams tied for second? And again, you look at the standings right now versus what I think they're going to look like in 10 days. It's so hard to figure out. It's going to change every single day, and I get that, but Boise State should win the next 4 games. I know at Wyoming is going to be tough, but that's not going to be any kind of trap game. They've already seen some of the teams go up there and lose. I think they can. I think you feel okay they can win that game. You should be able to win at Air Force, and you're going to have 4-game winning streak, you would hope, coming into the 2 monster home games. And again, both those games are teams you already beat on the road. I know they're going to be fired up to get payback, whatever, but you're at home and you've shown you can beat them already. I think those can both be wins also. So, I mean, I really think this team could start rolling off some wins and be in a first place showdown with San Diego State in the final game of the season. I don't think that's something crazy. But with that said, you have left yourselves now with 8 losses, little margin for error. You definitely cannot lose to one of these 4 bottom teams. And in terms of winning the league or whatever, you really would not like to lose to Nevada or New Mexico either. But I think 5-2 at worst. You start getting to 10, 11, 12 losses as a mid-major, man. I don't care how many quad 1 wins you got. It is hard to get a spot in the NCAA tournament. So if you go 6-1, you're going into the conference tournament with 9 losses, and I think you lose a game there. You're at 10. That's okay. 5-2. You're going in with 10 into the tournament, and then you're going to be at 11. I think you're starting to get dicey there, but I think you're probably okay. But anything worse than 5-2 in this 7-game stretch, and I think they could be in trouble. Yeah, I'll agree with that. You look at the road ahead, and I think that it lines up pretty nicely for Boise State. And the only reason why is because, their next 4 games are against the bottom 4 teams in the league. And then that mini 3-game gauntlet at the end where 2 of the 3 are at home. So I could very well envision this, BJ. You're right. Coming down to, final
week into the regular season where Boise State goes down to San Diego State, with first place in the Mountain West Conference on the line. You look at San Diego State's record and, schedule, and their toughest game is probably at Utah State. Outside of that, they get to be at home for their bigger matchups. So if they can hold serve at home, which they've done successfully so far this season, as I mentioned earlier, the only team in the Mountain West Conference without a loss at home, then that's the way that it could line up. I think for me, BJ, like you said, like power rankings, who's the best team in the league? Talent wise, I don't know if they are, but I've seen enough out of Utah State to understand that they can be very, very scary. And I think that Darius Brown is a veteran point guard that's very, very hard to disrupt. Boise State has done a great job at containing great Osibor, but I think that the supporting staff or supporting cast has proven that they can, take on a bigger role. I mean, Mason Falslev was unbelievable, the other night in Logan. And then you look at Isaac Johnson, who, check out his numbers versus every other team in the Mountain West League, and then check him out against Boise State. I would be surprised if he could do that a third time against the Broncos, because he's basically been twice the player against Boise State as he has been against every other team in the league, whether it be points, scoring, rebound, shooting efficiency, any of that. I would be surprised if he could do it a third time when you kind of compare and contrast. But right now, I have to give the tip of the cap to Utah State. They're in first place on top of the standings, and will it end that way? I don't know. But as we sit here today, I have to give them the respect that they've earned.
All right, well, enjoy the basketball tonight. 2 big games. Again, it's the nicest night for a Boise State fan, because for sure 2 teams are going down a spot in the standings, and you don't have to play. And so we'll watch those games tonight. I guess you probably want I guess you probably, as you said, the home teams, I guess you need to get in this league. I guess you need the home teams. You probably need, right, Jay, to
probably
take care of business tonight. That'd be Nevada, and that would be San Diego State, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe Colorado State, because I don't know what the rest of their road schedule still is like, but I think you probably want the 2 home teams to serve tonight. But all right, before we bring on Coach Shults here in about 5 minutes, I did want to touch on the Bush Hamdan situation. Again, what I'm hearing is don't hold your breath. Nothing's official. Could be official at any point, but don't expect Bush Hamdan to probably be back at this point. And I don't think anybody really expected it, Jay, once we heard they're trying to keep him, sure, but when you're getting the previous offensive coordinator made $1.7 million, and he's getting about $460,000. I don't think anybody expected Boise State to do enough to keep him. Mike Prater was pretty vocal yesterday on the show, Jay, saying he just didn't like it, and it kind of bugged him. And Bush Hamdan talked about loyalty and talked about all this, and if he'd had a huge year this year, he probably would have had better offers than Kentucky after the season. What's just your take on Bush and leaving for Kentucky?
Better offers. What I know is that, the previous offensive coordinator at Kentucky made $1.7 million a year. And that offensive coordinator recently parlayed his success or whatever he did at Kentucky into an NFL offensive coordinator job. So I don't know what more you could ask for in terms of an opportunity, in all honesty, BJ. I think when you look around the SEC, Mike Stoops is, security, stability is about as good as anywhere you're really going to see in the SEC outside of Kirby Smart. Even with Saban gone now, DeBoer's going to have to put in some sweat equity and win there to, make sure that he has stability. So, it's not a bad spot. I do think that it was a little surprising, but when you see what they can offer, I mean, I get it. People preach loyalty and they want loyalty out of the players and all this stuff. But I mean, he'll be able to go there and earn in a season what it would take him, potentially 3-4 years to earn as an offensive coordinator at Boise State. And, that's, I call it what it is. That's generational wealth, man. Like you're setting your family's family up for, success in life. So it's really tough. I think had he already been through that and already had that type of job, like maybe he could, like a Stacey Collins, for example. I mean, not quite apples to apples, but it's comparable. He went off to Penn State, made a lot of money, and now, he's kind of viewing this chapter in his life as, a little differently, I would say, right? So, Bush loves this place. It means a lot to him. Yeah. But I just think there are certain things where, it forces your hand. I understand why fans might be upset. I get it, but my goodness, I mean, like I heard it could be up to close to $2 million. So if that's the case, what do you expect the guy to do? I mean, he would be one of, if not the highest paid head coach in the Mountain West at this point. He's going to make almost twice what Spencer Danielson makes to be the head coach at Boise State,
which is ridiculous.
It's crazy, but the SEC money is just on an absolute another level, and so. From the get-go, BJ, my understanding was it was going to be really, really hard to figure out a way, and it didn't really seem like there was going to be a way. And that's what we're heading towards here. So it's super unfortunate. Bush is a really talented play caller. You want to see peak Bush Hamdan, go back and watch the Mountain West Conference Championship game when Boise State just hammered UNLV, and it seemed like every button that Bush, pressed was the right button. So it from a human standpoint too, like he was always fun to talk to.
Sure.
For the most part, he was transparent with us. Maybe not always about the 2 QB system, but probably because he had to bite his lip at times with all of that mess. Yeah. So I'll certainly wish him the best of luck, and it definitely seems like it is headed down that road. So
I will say this too. Yep, and I will say from my understanding, don't expect like some real quick hire for the next OC. It sounds like they're going to take their time a little bit on that. And
look how that worked out with Stacey Collins, man.
Yeah.
Like,
you do have spring ball starting in like 4 weeks. I mean, you don't have a ton of time here, but I would suspect this is a very intriguing position for a guy that wants to parlay this into a head coaching job or a big time coordinator job. And you see what Bush did in his 1 year, and I think we all expect the offense to be even better this year in the fall than last year. So I think you're going to get some high level candidates. I talked with Prater yesterday about Matt Miller as being an internal candidate. I suspect they're going to go a little higher than that just because of the interest they can get on the outside. But I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't be holding your, checking Twitter every 5 seconds to see who they're going to hire. This might take a little while.
It's Boise State. It's always been an attractive offensive coordinator opening, but now you get to work with Ashton Genty, Malachi Nelson, a guy like Chris Marshall, Cam Camper, Latrell Caples. You have a pretty experienced offensive line coming back. And really quick, BJ, just to talk about the talent that they might be able to attract. You were going to pay Bush Hamdan $640,000 this year and $680,000. Sorry, I was already doing the math inside my head. 460 and 480. Well, now we don't know the exact buyout because his contract had not gone before the Idaho State Board of Education yet. Yes. But under his old deal, it would have been in the neighborhood of a $200,000 buyout. So I think it's safe to assume it's at least something close to that. So I mean, like they'll have that money. They'll have the 460 to 480 they were going to pay Bush over the next 2 years. I mean, you should be able to have a serious offer that you can put forth.
I just say give it to the softball coach. I mean, I think that makes
dude knows a thing or two about offense.
Yeah. Let's do that.
I've never met a more offensive person than Justin Shults.
I agree, and we'll get to him in just a second, but I need to thank a couple of our sponsors real quick. Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out, lithiafordboise.com. Do you view their full inventory of vehicles? They do have 5 NIL deals with student athletes at Boise State, some football players. They got Brooke Patterson on the women's golf team, Paige Barsh on the volleyball team. So check them out. Go in there, test drive it, be on your way. They got some great specials right now. We appreciate Lithia Ford of Boise. It is a Taco Bell Tuesday here on Bronco Nation News. TacoBellWorks.com. You get more information. If you're looking for a job, they are hiring. And how about this? They'll offer you up to half your wages the very next day after your shift. So if you need quick cash, need a job, highly recommend Taco Bell. And again, the SON Management Group and the Nicolason family, they're doing a ton. They still give hundreds of thousands of dollars to Boise State student scholarships for the men's and women's basketball teams. And the food is great as well. So check them out. We appreciate Taco Bell. The Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. Free shipping, any order over $40, or if you're in the Boise area, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there on the second floor. An entire store dedicated to Boise State gear, shirts, hats, bumper stickers, car flags, golf ball logos on golf balls, anything you want. They got it at the Blue and Orange Store. They got the NIL shirts and things. So check them out, theblueandorangestore.com. And if you're looking for a job, TCS, Transportation Compliance Service, can help you get into the trucking industry, all the DOT overweight, all the permits and things you need to get out there on the open road. They can help you do it. Over 75% of people that try to get into the trucking industry themselves end up going out of business. Let TCS help you out. transportation, compliance service. And if you need some coffee, Bronco Brew Coffee, they're helping the NIL game at Boise State. A couple bucks of every purchase goes straight to the pocket of one of your favorite athletes. You can choose it online there. There's different varieties, different flavors of coffee, and best part is it's roasted to order. So you order it, it's roasted, and in a day or two, you're drinking fresh coffee. So check them out at broncobrew.coffee. All right, Jay Tust, we talked about it. Big weekend for the softball team. They go 4-1, and kind enough to join us here. If I can get the right graphic on the screen here, we'll just bring him in here. Justin Shults, there he is, coach of the wagon, joining us here on BNN. How we doing, Coach Shults?
I'm doing good, and since we're on the topic of offensive, I told the umpire in the last game this week, and I gave my performance a B+ in demeanor out there this weekend. So I thought I was pretty mellow this weekend.
There you go. We'll see. I love, that was one of my best viewed videos, though, was you making the walk of shame back to the clubhouse after you got ejected at one of those games last year. But it sounds like you're working on it.
I'm growing day by day. We'll see what happens next week.
Well, I mean, speaking of growing, you couldn't have asked for a much better start to grow that NCAA tournament resume and to start to grow what you want to do with this team this year. 4-1 in the opening weekend. You beat 2 Power 5 teams. You beat a ranked team. I mean, a lot of history and things that you guys were able to do. But 4-1, and the way you got some of those wins, I believe 4 of them were comeback wins as well. You couldn't have asked for a much better start to your season.
Yeah, we're still learning about our team. I think the most exciting thing is I think we lose 2 of those games that we won last year, just with the way that we were able to use some small ball, use our speed, create a little bit more pressure on the defense. I don't know with living and dying by the long ball last year if we would have been able to come back in that GCU game when we were pretty tired from the long weekend. So I'm proud of the group. We're still learning a lot. And Taylor Cottle was absolutely outstanding all weekend and really put us in a great spot to start the year.
I was going to say, you look at Taylor's stat line, a .52 whip, a .33 ERA. She gives up one run just in general, over 21 innings pitched. She threw in 4 games for you. What was working for her, and is this something that is sustainable over the course of a season? Because she was outstanding over the weekend, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the .33 ERA, I don't know if that's sustainable for anybody. But I do think her demeanor, her maturity, her mentality out there, I think that's sustainable. I think that was the thing I was most proud of, is she comes out and really does a great job. We're trailing in most of the games. We used her in a relief role early in the weekend, and she really just kept us in it long enough to have us claw back and find ways to win. And honestly, she was at her best in the 6th and 7th innings. I don't know if she gave up a hit outside of the sun ball in the GCU game in the 6th and 7th all weekend. So really proud of her, and I'm excited to see how much further she can go this year.
You look at go ahead, Jay.
Oh, I was just going to say, you mentioned playing a little bit of small ball. You guys still hit 7 jacks this weekend, but maybe that for this to be the opening weekend of the season, it just seems like you guys played the game at, a high level when it comes to execution and things like that. It was the little things that, are the reason why you guys come home with such a noticeably impressive record. So to do that on the opening weekend, it seems like that would be a little rare or unique, Justin.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to our preparation in January. We started talking about winning the day. January is always tough. We're indoors, and so we started posting the previous practice plan with either a W or a loss on the board, and we just started to tally it. And I think we went 17-4 in January with our practice plans. We would talk if it was a loss, what do we need to do to be better? And I think that preparation kind of led us into these stressful situations and executing at our finest. We stole home in one of the games where there was some little confusion. There were things that we practiced a lot in January that was fun to see come together. Now it's getting comfortable, and I think our bats are only going to get better as the year goes on.
You look at the way last year started, Justin, going all the way to Florida and long trip, and didn't have the weekend you were wanting, and if you maybe playing catch up a little bit, you going into the next weekend, and you scheduled so aggressively this year, and to start it out 4-1, and to start out with Mountain West Player of the Week, Freshman of the Week, Pitcher of the Week, and just, I know I'm kind of repeating my first question, but you really couldn't have drawn it up much better, and not just for the 4-1 start, but what this could do later on down the season, the momentum it gives you now. And I know you scheduled aggressively for a reason here, and to already have 2 of those Power 5 wins in your back pocket, I mean, that's got to be a really nice start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was listening to you guys a little bit talk about basketball, and it's like for mid-majors, we don't get to have any bad weekends. So for us, we schedule tough because it helps build the resume. But we know the committee's just waiting for us to make one mistake to just highlight that. And that's just part of it. I mean, we embrace it as a team. And so for us, we go into a weekend where on paper, those teams didn't have great starts, but it's really, we have to play our best softball every single weekend, and it doesn't matter what our opponents are doing. We know the teams we're playing this weekend are going to be challenging as well. And we preach that every single day, every practice. It is a game day feel, and we are playing to win the game.
By the way, one of your detractors, Johnny Ballgame, is watching, and I guess the first thing I have to mention is he at least knows how to spell your name.
Let's go, Johnny. I appreciate it.
He's wanting the lifetime extension for you, it says there.
Shults, you brought up the committee and how they're going to evaluate this stuff, and I gained a better understanding of it 2 years ago when you guys won 40 games, and for whatever reason you're left on the outside looking in at this thing. So I understand that this is a question that's probably better asked 2 months from now, but when you do look at your top 20 win over Northwestern and things like that, like how valuable and meaningful are those resume builders when it really does come to the end of this thing?
Oh, it's huge. You look at it, we're 1-1 against the Big Ten right now. We got 2 more opportunities against them this weekend. It's like, if we can put on the resume that we're winning against those conferences, when it comes down to their 5th at large or our 2nd at large, if things don't go the way we want them in our conference tournament, I think it's huge. And it's just all a numbers game at the end of the day. I don't necessarily agree with it because there's a lot more that goes into sports than just looking at the ratings. But it's the era we live in, and I know the committee well enough to know that if they can leave us off, they will, and so we have to just leave no doubt.
And speaking of that, Jay, I mean, real quickly, you've already played Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Arizona State, and you still have 2 games against Michigan State, 2 games against LSU, Houston, Georgia, Utah, 2 games against Stanford, 2 games against Cal, and Washington, if I figured all that out correctly. I mean, that's 15 games.
Who put the schedule together?
Yeah, that was my assistance. I would never do that.
I was going to blame Craig Lawson. We'll just put it on Craig. But I mean, 15 games against, and I know like it's maybe a little different in softball because a lot of those are like football name, Power 5 type teams. Who knows if they're? I couldn't tell you. I know if all these teams are amazingly good teams in softball, but just from an optics standpoint, to have that over half your non-conference schedule or whatever filled with teams like that, I mean that is crazy. And you're every weekend playing a couple of these in these tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, we talk about unrealistic expectations all the time in the department. And my goals for this team, it's unrealistic. I gave Mike Walsh, my SPA, a prediction, and I'll keep that private for now, of what I expect this team to do record-wise when it's all said and done. But we expect to compete in all those games. We're talking about, like, I believe Boise can be a softball school as well as a basketball, football school. And so in order to do that, we got to bring teams like Washington to Boise to play and create that atmosphere that you're seeing at Extra Mile. You're seeing at Albertsons. You saw it with soccer this fall, volleyball as well. And so like we need to keep building. And the only way you can do that is playing those high-end teams and seeing what we can do against them.
And for the record, BJ was saying, like maybe the name recognition doesn't translate to softball. Well, there are plenty of seasons where the Cal football team probably wishes they were as good as the Cal softball team too, for that matter. So it does go both ways. I want to go back, Justin. You talked about wins and losses at practice and grading those. How do you grade those? And one thing I always appreciate about you is you do kind of have like that open door policy. So if I'm being honest, like I've been there for the good and the bad at times, but how do you grade, what is a win or is a loss at practice?
Yeah, it's all about mentality. It's going to be about the attitude and the effort. Are we fully engaged in the drills? In a 3-hour practice, you're going to make tons of mistakes. But how do you respond to those mistakes? And I think that's when you look at our start of our season, we're down four times, and we find ways to claw back. We find ways not to let the pressure get to us. And so when we evaluate, it's all about the mentality of the team. It really doesn't have to do with the X's and O's and the playing catch portion. Obviously that factors in, but it's really, do they show up with the right intent? are they willing to get better every single day? And I really thought this was by far the best January that I've been a part of, probably in my 14-year coaching career. And so it's exciting. We still have a long ways to go, but we're off to a great start.
Now, we love giving Jay crap for his vote in the AP men's basketball poll. We got to find out who some of these voters are in the softball poll here. You guys are getting, I guess the coaches, we don't know which coaches, but you guys are getting some votes now in the coaches poll. So we got to keep moving that up there and try to get you guys in the top 25 here. But as I said, you some of the wins you had, and now you're getting votes. I mean, what does this just do from a national standpoint? Boise State softball, you mentioned making it a softball town and making this program nationally relevant, and it seems like you're way on your way. But I guess I'm rambling, but do you see this team? I know you're more on the hitting side, obviously, your background, but do you feel this team's strength is going to be more on the hitting side, the pitching side, both? I mean, after 5 games, has your thoughts changed at all on what you thought about this team going in and just where your strengths are going to be?
No, I think we're pretty realistic in where we're at, and I think the one thing that I'd like to see, we talked with the offense is going to continue to get better. I thought we were extremely early all weekend offensively, which led to more strikeouts and less walks than I would have wanted. And then on the pitching side, I've talked about the depth of this circle all fall and into January, and I thought we really relied on Taylor, but our pitching staff is a lot better than they showed week 1, and I think getting the nerves out and then getting back to work this weekend, you're going to see the depth of our pitching staff really shine here down the stretch.
Are you, with your schedule, Shults, usually it feels like it's forever before we actually get to see, you guys play a home game, and it still feels like it's forever away a little bit. But how excited are you guys to eventually get back home here in a little less than a month, I would say, away, three weeks or so away.
State, right? Let's go.
Yeah. How excited are you guys to get back at home and maybe play under the? Is there a first under the lights game yet? Do we know about that yet, or anything like that?
Since you guys brought Craig up, he taught me something, that a true night game has to start after 6 p.m. So our official first night game will probably be our first conference game, since our tournament games start at 5. But the lights will be in action for sure in those tournaments, and we're excited. It allows fans to get out there on the weekdays. I expect to continue to break attendance records. And so, part of it is getting more home games. 22 home games this year is the most, I think, in recent school history. And so in order to get fans excited, we have to play in front of them. And one way to do that is the lights are going to help get more and more tournament games every year.
So are they done, or are they ready to go? Or
the lights are up. If you drive by, they're up. And then they're working on the angles and all that stuff this week. So when we
have you seen them turned on?
Friday, they'll be turned on, I believe.
Oh,
and then when we get back from Louisiana, they'll be full go, and we'll probably even have a few night practices just to get comfortable under them.
That's awesome, man. That's great to see. Great to see the continued investment, from the athletic department, and it's starting to look like it obviously is paying off with what you guys are doing on the field as well. So, what's the outlook for this weekend? What's the scouting report? What's the big picture look here for fans as you guys head right back on the road?
Yeah, going to Texas, UT Arlington for 5 games, getting to play Michigan State twice, who's always competitive. UT Arlington once, UMKC and DePaul. We've got to play our softball. I think that's the one thing we've learned is there's a lot of parity in softball, and so if we don't play our best, it's going to be challenging. And I think if we can get through this week, and then obviously got to look ahead to the SEC games and Houston and Austin Peay, it's going to be 10 games on the road and a lot of quality opponents that we got to face.
This could be a question that probably solicits a super long answer, but Justin, you were hired a few years ago, and now you look up and you have this massive video board out in right field, and you have lights, now that you can play night games. And I know that there are, goals to have, that infield looking a little different before too long too. But does it feel like it's starting to come together? I mean, you came to Boise State for a reason. You want to stay at Boise State for a reason. Does it feel like it's starting to come together for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jeremiah and his team have absolutely delivered here. When I was in the interview process, they promised a lot of things, and sometimes it's like a first date. It's a lot of fluff, and Jeremiah has not done that. He's stepped up in big ways for us, and we're doing our part. We're putting up a lot of W's. We're creating the buzz that we need to do, and he's answering the call on his end. So I would imagine every single year we're going to get some sort of improvement, and that's going to be a beautiful stadium here in the next few years.
Do the lights do anything like outside of just shining light on a softball field?
Well, if we could get Johnny Ball Game to show up once in a while, he'd be able to see. But I think they can do some pretty cool things.
Okay. Well, we got to get Ball Game out there. Otherwise, he's just going to ask us about it, and we'll get him out there.
He spelled his name right in the text, so I think that's a start, right?
That's a good start.
Cannot wait to hear Johnny Ballgame talking softball on Idaho Sports Talk. But we Shults, we appreciate it as always, man. Awesome start, and I think it's just an exciting season too with you guys hosting the conference tournament. Like, it's just going to be this build up all the way to what you guys hope put yourselves in a strong position to be playing your best softball there at the end of the season. And I know it's just going to be a lot of fun, and just with the lights and everything else going on, hosting the tournament, and just the team obviously looking strong. I think it's just going to be a fun couple of months here, and hopefully folks continue to buy into the program and come check out the games. I think it's March 7th is the Kennesaw State home game, 5:00. But hopefully we can get you on back before that. Yeah, I know my softball schedule. You had to look down there to confirm it. I saw
double checked. We've moved it around quite a bit, but you're right. Okay. March 7th. You're spot on, BJ.
And there may be we're just working behind the scenes on some stuff. There may be some more excitement coming with that Kennesaw State game. We'll see what we can get done. But appreciate you as always, Coach. We'll love to get you on again soon. Congratulations on the strong start, and keep it up this week and moving forward.
Right on. I appreciate you guys. Go Broncos.
There he is, Justin Shults. Appreciate him for jumping on. And Jay, as we kind of wrap this up, it feels like Boise State has a lot of like great coaches, but also great people. And like, whether it be, Jim Thomas with soccer, or Sean Garris, or Gordy Presnell, or even some of these, coaches that maybe don't get the pub or don't do as many interviews or aren't as well known as the Leon Rices, Spencer Danielsons of the world. And I know I left out a lot of great coaches there. I just thought the first three that came to mind, but you go top to bottom, even Kalen Downs, women's golf, you just go any of the coaches that you talk to, great coaches, great individuals, fun to talk to. I mean, they just got a good vibe over there in the athletic department with the coaching staffs.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Justin, I'll just reiterate, he's done a phenomenal job with the softball program. It already achieved, some pretty nice things prior to his arrival in Boise, but he has found a way to maybe take this thing to another level. And excited for them to get home and chase a Mountain West championship and see what that all adds up to. Maybe a trip to the NCAA tournament. So time will tell. Speaking of that, Lunardi just posted his updated brackets. Boise State is last four buys, so still in the NCAA tournament.
According to Joe Lunardi. Yeah.
According to Joe Lunardi, who I'm not gonna lie, I love Joe, but
Joey brackets not necessarily the top when it comes to protecting it.
Yeah, I would agree.
I recommend Bracket Matrix. They kind of average all of them together, and they're usually pretty close. But again, as we wrap it up, as we said at the beginning, Jay, I mean, it's last week stunk. 2 bad losses, 2 not competitive games. I get it. Boise State fans rightfully a little worried. But if you look at what's ahead here, as long as Boise State can take care of business and do what they're projected to do, they're going to be right there at the end of the season, still fighting for first place.
Yeah, but that is worth noting, though. It's funny because, again, next 4 games against the bottom 4 teams, in a weird way, these 4 are almost more important than some of the other ones because you can explain a loss in other areas. You can't explain a loss in these next 4 games. You can't explain that on Selection Sunday. So the next 4 games, in a weird way, are maybe the most important left, for that matter. I don't know.
And if you go 4-0, you're sitting there at 20-8 with Nevada, New Mexico coming for 2 big home games. I think that's the goal. Win these 4, and then you got you take 2 or 3 in the final 3 games, and you're sitting pretty, I think. So it's the path is still there, but certainly, as I said, the margin for error is a little less. But you know what, Boise State fans, tonight, sit back, be a fan, enjoy 2 fun games. Colorado at San Diego State at 7, New Mexico at Nevada at 9. Both those games on the CBS Sports Network. Jay, appreciate your time as always, man. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks to Coach Shults. Thanks to Craig Lawson for helping set that up. Thank you to all of our viewers and commenters. And I will say this, Jay, just to kind of prove, the BNN's growth, but also softball's growth. nothing against Justin Shults or any of those coaches, but last year you talk basketball for 30 minutes and you switch and talk about a sport like softball or volleyball, you see a big decline in previous years in the viewership numbers, and it was holding steady, if not going up, when Coach Shults came on. So I think that says a lot about where the softball program is rising, that the viewership is staying strong, and folks that have watching our shows want to talk all Boise State sports. We appreciate you guys for also being interested in the other interviews and stuff. It's not just football and basketball, and we're going to continue to try to bring some of those coaches and things on as we move forward here on BNN. So Jay, we'll talk to you Friday, and I'll probably talk to you before then, but we'll talk to you on the show on Friday, and appreciate all you guys for jumping on. Johnny Ballgame, you heard him reference 9 a.m. tomorrow on Valentine's Day. Nothing I'd rather do to start my Valentine's Day than talk to John Mallory at 9 a.m. on Bronco Nation News Live. So enjoy the basketball tonight. And we'll talk to you guys later. Appreciate it. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com.